Mic check. Check one. Mic check. Check. Mic check. Check one. Mic check. All right. Sweet. Sounds good. Cool. Hey, everybody. Meteorologist Noah Simmons on this 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. No need to panic or anything like that in the immediate future right now. Obviously, I have Doppler radar pulled up. I just want to give a quick live stream, give folks a heads up. We're at 9 p.m., so we're starting to get into that peak time frame for fireworks celebrations that are about to get set off. And the storm timing, I should say, probably got moved up, say 1 to 2 hours. And part of the reason why is because we had storms initiate probably about an hour earlier near Ponca City, Oklahoma. Then our storms have been moving just slightly faster, about 15, 20 miles and faster. As a result, you kind of get those storms knocking on our doorstep. So it's pretty much 9 p.m. here. A couple of these severe thunderstorm warnings go all the way out to some of our Oklahoma counties. So that includes Delaware, Adair County, even parts of western Sequoia County. These storms have slowly weakened just a tad, but still have some very strong wind gusts that they're packing with this. You want to give folks kind of a heads up on the storm timing, because I know a lot of people are probably wondering how quick are these storms going to reach us here. So I want to have to do a quick track on these storms to kind of see how fast these guys are moving. Last time I checked was about 45 to 50 miles an hour. I'm going to see if the National Weather Service has anything else to pass along, but we do expect that line to continue really the next, 2 to 3 hours. So let's see if we have any details on the speed there. Okay. I'm going to go zoom in real quick here. That's what we're looking at, right? So if we're, in Fort Smith, looks like our fireworks celebrations are about to start here in a matter of seconds. So I think that timing got pushed back just a little bit, just in case these storms, right, were kind of starting to approach there on the tail end of the fireworks celebration. So the Fort Smith fireworks starts at 9 p.m. It looks like the Fayetteville, I can see it out of our studio doorway. I can see those fireworks are going off. I think those were supposed to start about 9 p.m. I think they started maybe just a tad earlier. So we've got fireworks celebrations going right now. And we got the speed of these. These are, let's see, 45. Have they sped up at all? Yeah, southeast at 45 for that part of the line. Near Chakotah, that part of the line, my guess is probably something similar. Yeah, 40, 45. Okay, so storms are moving about 40, 45 miles an hour. Let's get a quick storm track on that as we continue to see these push through. And I'm going to stop the loop here. We'll pause the radar. We'll put it at 45 for y'all. And here we go. So this is the current expectation for when storms could potentially reach parts of the area. So we have about, Jay in Delaware County in about another 15, 20 minutes. The Walmart in Tahlequah, about 25 minutes. Gravette, 9:36. Siloam Springs, about 9:45 p.m. Bentonville, about 9:55 p.m. Rogers, about 10 p.m. Springdale, about 10:11. So notice these times, they're within the next, say, 60 to 90 minutes. So you still have time to shoot off your fireworks. You have still time to celebrate America's 250th. And I can still see those fireworks kind of just blowing up outside our studio doorway there. Fayetteville, about 10:15, so right, we'll have the fireworks done by then for the most part. Fort Smith, roughly about 10:31, or I guess 10:30 roughly. Huntsville, 10:42. Then in Greenwood, just before 11 p.m. So that's if those storms continue to move their way southeast at about 45 miles an hour. They could speed up a little bit, they could slow down a little bit, but roughly about 40 to 50 miles an hour is that current track that we've been watching. Again, we don't have any storms in our coverage area, but we got that big, nasty line off to our northwest. And I'll probably pull up a few web cameras out here. We won't be able to see a ton out there, but we are going to be seeing some of those thunderstorms kind of pushing through the region. I was getting a phone call there. Can't exactly take a phone call. That might look a little awkward because we're mic'd up here. And we're going to be tracking these storms pushing through the region. And Will, do you have an update? No? Okay. Again, I'll do a little storm track here a little bit further, but that's what we're looking at right now. We also have a little bit of a thunder shower in Benton County. This is kind of just new between, say, Bentonville and Pea Ridge. This little guy, again, it's not severe or anything like that, but might be getting a brief downpour, that little spot pop-up shower that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. But again, you still have time to get the fireworks celebrations in. these storms are still, again, just off to our west, and this is going to be another 30 minutes to an hour before it starts to reach into parts of Arkansas. So kind of just a heads up there. We got fireworks celebration is going to be happening at Arvis Ballpark right as the game wraps up. So I don't know what inning the game is currently in, but I've heard it was a sold-out crowd, so a lot of folks there at Arvis Ballpark. Hopefully they can get the fireworks in, but we might need to wrap the game up a little bit before that line of storm starts to reach its way eastward. Looking at storm reports here from Oklahoma, this line of storm is kind of looking at a history of how strong our wind has been. And overall, we haven't seen, anything within the last 5 to 10 minutes. We had 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts near Locust Grove, which is kind of right in this vicinity, roughly. And so those, storms are packing 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts with that. We're not going to be able to see anything from any of these web cameras, and obviously we're losing daylight with that, but just want to give folks, just a quick heads up. Here's actually the Slim Chickens camera. Right, you can see lots of fireworks going off. And hey, this is good. We can get the fireworks in before the storms reach us closer to 10 p.m. and a little bit after that. So kind of yesterday, a little bit earlier today, we were talking about 11 p.m., midnight. That timeline's moved up, I should say, just a little bit. So we're getting the fireworks in. It's dark enough where we can, start to see, some of those fireworks out there. And I'm trying to figure out. I'm assuming that's I should know this, but we got like two fireworks celebrations going on. We got this one, and then we got this one. So I believe that's from the mall. But this is a pretty impressive. I don't think that's your casual neighbor putting on that show. But yeah, that's what we're looking at there. We'll kind of get you back to radar. But again, right now you can just want to give folks a quick heads up, quick update there. And looks like one of our digital workers is potentially moving some of the cameras around for us. So we're going to kind of monitor some of the cameras across the area. We have a report of let's see here. This would have been off into Oklahoma. That was a gust of 49 miles an hour, but that was along the gust front, which is very hard to see here. Sometimes you can see a thin green line extending from the storms. It's kind of a gust front. It's kind of hard to see from this radar picture right now. I mean, regardless, kind of just a menacing line of storms that we're looking at. I'll zoom into some of those severe thunderstorm warnings right now and kind of just give folks a heads up, for anyone that, has to get those fireworks, popping off here. Okay, so we'll start with this top one. This is going to be for Tahlequah, Wagoner, till 9:45 p.m. This big severe thunderstorm polygon that includes pretty much almost all of Delaware County, parts of Adair County, just outside of Siloam Springs. So the severe thunderstorm warning doesn't include Siloam Springs necessarily, but this goes until 9:45 p.m. But notice the wind with this. 70-mile-an-hour winds. That's what these storms have been capable of. They've actually produced 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts near the Tulsa area. So they've probably come down just a little bit, but they're warned for 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts there. And you kind of see this little thin gust front. That's what that little report was referring to. Just this little thin green line, this little gust front, just this is up to 45, 50 miles an hour. So definitely a kind of a strong gust front coming out of this storm. Hopefully what this is going to do, this little gust front coming out of this storm, if I loop it for you guys, hopefully what that can do is potentially weaken. Oh, that's not it. Hopefully weaken some of the storms as it works its way into Arkansas. You kind of see that little thin green line extending right here. That's that little gust front. That's that storm outflow. Almost acts like a mini cold front. And what happens is it pushes all the humid, warm air that we've certainly felt earlier today. So this line of storms can't necessarily ingest it. So that's what's going on here. That's some good news. Hopefully we can continue to see that little gust front extend a little bit outward. So that's our first severe thunderstorm warning. Now we'll go to other parts of the line here. And that's still the same one. Let's see here. So this one, this is going to be outside our coverage. There's so many polygons. You got to try and get it right here. This would have been, okay, yep. Trying to get it. Oh, you got to get in the right frame here. Okay, well, Obviously, we talked about this polygon. It looked like this polygon goes until about 9:15, so they might extend it, or excuse me, 9:45, still for 70-mile wind gusts. So 60, 70-mile wind gusts are possible as it starts to enter into parts of Adair County, parts of western Sequoia County, kind of near Vian, kind of near Gore area, Weber's Falls a little bit, the reservoirs here, just south of Sallisaw. So just a heads up, we're approaching about 9:10 p.m. And of course, we do have a 10 p.m. newscast, so we'll probably have to, of course, do that as long as nothing crazy is going on out there. Kind of get a new update here. Continuing the severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile wind gusts. So this little thing that's flashing right here, they took the wind down just to 60, which is still severe criteria. That's why that polygon's still popping up here. So we're still looking at 60-mile wind gusts with a line that's going to be rolling through Sequoia County. We'll do another storm track for folks, and I just want to see if the speed changed on this a little bit. Looks like things might have slowed down. That might be some good news, actually. If things have slowed down, then potentially we can get a little bit of extra time for any fireworks celebration. So that would be good. Overall, I'm just going to put this at about 40 miles an hour because roughly that's what we've been looking at. So for anyone just joining, I'm going to put this storm track at about 40. And we're going to drag this all the way. So technically storms haven't reached our coverage area yet, but they are expected to in a matter of minutes in places like Jay. It's almost right on top of you, so you definitely see a lot of thunder and lightning. If we had a camera in Jay, you'd probably see a big shelf cloud from this big line of storms. This is going to be at Siloam Springs about 9:50 p.m., so just a dash before 10 p.m. Lincoln about 10:08. I believe it was either Farmington or Prairie Grove fireworks. I believe got postponed to tomorrow night, just to be on the safe side. We're looking at Rogers about 10:20, Fayetteville 10:25, Fort Smith roughly about 10:45 p.m. Fireworks are going off in Fort Smith right now. Huntsville just before 11 p.m. Lavaca 11:05, Ozark and Charleston between 11:15 and 11:20 p.m. Tonight. I believe Ozark had their fireworks celebrations last night, so that's what we're looking at. With that severe line going through the area. We'll see some of our web cameras. I don't know. I'm going to see if we have any more updates here to pass along. And if I go quiet, it's just because I'm checking things. Might just, loop the radar for you guys so you guys can see what's going on. So I can check some things. So this is what's going to happen here. I'm going to hop on the Facebook live stream. For anyone watching, I'm not sure how many people are there. I'm just going to hop on, see if anyone has any questions, and we'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to have the radar loop here for the next minute or so as I kind of log on here. Okay, let's see, what kind of questions do we have going on here? Oh, people are wondering about the wind. People are wondering about the wind and the rotation with this. We'll take a look at that here. And it looks like someone wants to wonder about hail. So we'll get to all of that here in the next few minutes. So let's kind of jump and dive right into that here. So right, here's the big picture. Here's the line of storms. It hasn't reached us yet, so fireworks celebrations are still a go. We can still get them in. We still have 30 minutes to an hour to still get them in, and it's dark enough. And I'm looking outside. It's not pitch black, but it's pretty close to pitch black out there, and I can see fireworks still going off here outside of our studio. So that's what's going on right now. Here's the severe thunderstorm warnings. Goes all the way to the Arkansas-Oklahoma border there for Delaware, Adair County, parts of western Sequoia County. These are going to be warned for about 60 to 70-mile wind gusts. People were wondering about hail. Do we have any hail with this? We'll take a look at it. My gut feeling is probably not, and if we do, it's probably pretty small. And so we'll look at this. It's going to take a minute to load. All right, so here's the hail that we're looking at. These little gray, white splotches. These are some small hail that we're looking at here. across Delaware, west of Adair County, basically encompassing all these severe thunderstorm warnings, so it's just not big hail. If we were to be concerned about hail, we would want to see it on the blue category, light blue, dark blue. We would want to see some pretty strong hail out there. That's just not the case with this. Now we can switch to our winds, and what are our winds doing? And you can clearly see where the gust front is. It's actually probably reached J. This little thin line right through here. That's that little gust front coming out of the storm. So the storms are back in here, and here's the radar site, right? So red is that wind going away, which makes sense because the storm has already passed the radar site. It's moving eastward. So that's why you're going to see some red. So that's that little thin green red line. That's the gust front pushing through. And even the gust front could pack a little bit of a punch of wind, about 40 to maybe 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts as it comes out. But the bulk of the severe threat is just behind that gust front. So there's a look at wind. Someone was asking about rotation. I don't see any rotation here. And we just weren't really expecting any rotation with these storms. And so it's just going to be mainly a wind-driven hazard. So again, if you're just now joining us, like we've been talking about, we can get the fireworks celebrations in right now. Lots of people are shooting them all, celebrating America's 250th. The storm timing probably just got pushed back up an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So as opposed to 11 p.m. midnight, these are going to be rolling in, closer to 10 p.m. and just after that. So that's kind of what we just want to give folks a quick heads up there. We'll also go back to wind here. And we're getting some reports here from the National Weather Service and some other emergency managers on how strong that wind is. And so we had a gust of 59 miles an hour in, I believe that was Cherokee County. So just in that vicinity, roughly. I'm almost positive. And so that's what we're looking at with some of those winds. Definitely some strong winds there between Muskogee and west of Tahlequah. I don't know how strong these winds are, but potentially 60 to 70 miles an hour. You can kind of see that there. The radar's kind of sampling that with our velocity. So our wind going away from the radar, 60 miles an hour, so 60 to 70 miles an hour is what we can expect with some of these storms. So, we talked about the hail. Again, if we were to see hail, we just went through hail strike. It's very, very small hail. If we had hail, we just wouldn't be concerned about it. So maybe pea-sized, maybe blueberry-sized, maybe nickel-sized. But in terms of quarter size, it's just going to be hard to come by with a line like this. And this is what we're looking at here, the storms. I'm going to do a 3-hour radar loop. So here's where those storms originated in the north-central Oklahoma. This part of the line right here really surged through Tulsa, gave some 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts to the Tulsa area and really surged through. So that's what's going on. And it's going to probably clip western parts of Sequoia County. That's why that severe warning polygon continues. And even we have a severe thunderstorm warning just north of that coverage area in McDonald County. That's this guy in far southwest Missouri. But still looking at that line of storms that continues to push its way eastward. And I talked about this earlier, starting to see a bit of a weakening trend with some of these storms. And here's the reason why we're seeing that. As I'll zoom in, I'll go to the last 30 minutes. All right, so here's the last 30 minutes. Kind of see this little thin green line here that's already pushed through J. So the gust front has already pushed through J. It's about to work into Siloam Springs. It's just basically going to be a gust of rain, cooled air pretty much. So it might cool things down a little bit. It's still a little ways away from Stillwell, still a little ways away from Sallisaw. But that little gust front, what that's going to do is that's going to cut out all the warm, humid inflow that those storms need to ingest to get stronger. And I'm going to draw it out here. All right, so the strongest winds are still probably back in here where the bulk of that line of storms is. And I'll kind of circle it here. So that's where the strongest area of winds is. Here's where the gust front is. It continues to work its way eastward, hopefully indicating some sort of weakening trend. You usually see that with the line of storms that we kind of see pushing through parts of eastern Oklahoma. And I'll take that off. It looks like they're going to continue that severe thunderstorm warning. That's why it's flashing. So that little northern part of the line, this little polygon, so Delaware, Adair County, it's flashing because they're updating the warning. Either they're updating or they're trimming the warning there to kind of continue it eastward. So sometimes they update the warning tag. Sometimes they update the speed, the wind speeds. Are we seeing 60, 70 miles an hour? This one that was just flashing, getting into close to Siloam Springs and then near Jay and near Stillwell, that's going to be for 60-mile wind gusts. So I think earlier it was 70. Looks like it's come down to 60. So that's at least a good sign that we're starting to see some sort of a weakening trend. We still got that little thunderstorm that's kind of blowing up just northeast of Bentonville, kind of near Pea Ridge. So that little thunderstorm potentially giving some heavy downpours out there right now. Well, you can potentially go to some of our web cameras out there right now. Here we go. So there's the big picture. Web cameras around the area. I'm wondering. I wonder if we can see it from the Fort Smith ACHE. Oh yeah. Oh, something's going on. So this is from Fort Smith ACHE. I don't think that's the Fort Smith celebration. The direction we're looking at here, I don't have the. All right. I just need to get the iPad. Whoa, what is going on here? Okay, so we're looking at. I need the iPad so I can rotate the cameras. That's what we're looking at here. And this camera is very out of focus. So, at least the one on my iPad. This one's a kind of a clear shot. Lots of fireworks going on across the region. And of course you can see the lightning. So we got man-made fireworks and then we got nature's fireworks. Maybe we can see it pop off. Whoa. Maybe we'll see it here. I mean, yeah, lots of fireworks going off. You can kind of see that might be that might be Fort Smith's fireworks celebration that's happening right now, as we're kind of pointing that. And there's Mother Nature's fireworks. We got lightning, then we got fireworks. We got lots going on. And of course, it just had to be on a Saturday night. At least the 4th of July is on a Saturday night, but the storms have seemed to move through Saturday nights and Sunday nights pretty frequently the last several weeks. That's why folks have seen my face a little too much. All right, so that camera is not it. Okay. All right. We can pull up a couple more cameras, what we're seeing out there. Here we go. This is... Okay. Wow. That's a pretty cool shot. That's pretty cool. We have fireworks, and then we got lightning in the background that sometimes illuminates it. Maybe we'll see it here. I can see it outside of our studio here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, kind of a cool shot, to be honest with you. You know, you get to see fireworks and then Mother Nature's lightning on the 4th of July. How about that? We're ringing in the 4th of July with a bang, both in the sky and on the ground. So, and this actually, I'm not sure this would be the finale, but we're looking at a good amount of fireworks happening here. This is from the Northwest Arkansas Mall. I see some good fireworks there, even on the left part of your screen. And while we take a look at that, I'm just going to rotate some cameras and see what we're seeing out there. And I'll provide another storm track here in a couple more minutes. everybody. You might have heard a bunch of some banging out there. I was just looking at some fireworks, but have radar pulled up, and right, we got lots of 4th of July festivities happening. And just want to give folks, just a quick update. I mean, the bulk of the severe line technically hasn't reached us yet. It's just now to Delaware County. It hasn't even reached Adair County yet. But that severe, line continues to kind of work its way eastward. First 60-mile wind gust, potentially as high as maybe 65-ish. We actually had a report out of the Tahlequah Airport, and that was at 61. I believe 61-mile wind gust at Tahlequah Airport. And that was at 5 minutes ago along the gust front. Now Tahlequah is about right in here, so that line of storms continues to kind of work its way eastward. We can pull up a few more cameras. Here's a look at we took a look at Fort Smith's, and here's the Marshall Museum. Whoa, what's going on here? Oh yeah. So here's a look at the U.S. Marshals Museum. The big fireworks festivities happening on the left side of your screen. Mother Nature's fireworks happening on the right side of your screen. So pretty cool sight there. A lot of people enjoying that as the lightning is getting pretty close. I mean, bottom line, right? There's gonna be a lot of lightning with this. You felt the air out there. Pretty typical late June, early July. You get a lot of these thunderstorms. They're very electrifying. You get lots of lightning with them. And of course, that's what we're gonna see there. If you look in the upper right, that's lightning from the storms. Of course, those fireworks popping off on the upper left hand of your screen. So kind of a cool sight. And we'll jump back to radar here, but this is the only way I get to see the 4th of July fireworks because we've been tracking these, so I can't exactly see them, but that's kind of a cool shot. Wow. Pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I mean, it's not as good as in person, but it's cool enough. So yeah, there's a line of storms. Let's see if we have so we're getting reports of power outages out of Tahlequah. So we're getting some power outages out of here as the line of storms push through. So we got to be mindful of that as that line pushes through, and it's gonna be pushing through right during our 10 o'clock newscast potentially. So we got to look at that. Here's a look at Rogers, or Cameron Rogers. That's kind of cool. Oh. I mean, wow. You just look at the horizon. It's just lighting up. Wow. That's pretty cool. That is, we might just hang out here. There's a lot of lightning with the storms, and then of course on the horizon, here's all the fireworks, and then the thunderstorm pretty much coming at us from where that camera is, Interstate 49 on the bottom. We're looking west. Lots of fireworks in the horizon. Wow, that's pretty cool. A lot of people celebrating. I mean, you might as well. It's 250th anniversary, or not 250th anniversary, 200th birthday anniversary. I don't know. Yeah, that's some good action going on. Yeah, you can tell me in my ear, yep. Oh, okay. And we're in CBS, I guess, is showing that? Okay. So I guess we don't know yet? Okay, and that's 10:22? Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, just let me know if anything changes. Well, yeah, just talking with my producer, Luke, who's just kind of updating me on the 10 o'clock newscast, which might get pushed back because of programming issues, whatnot. Technically, this stream is going to be ending at about 9:58, 9:59 p.m. because of that 10 o'clock newscast, so we might need to start another one up with some of those severe wind gusts potentially moving through. But here's a look at a Rogers camera there. Just lots of lightning with these storms. Of course, lots of fireworks popping off, and Yeah, we get the opportunity to enjoy the fireworks before the storms roll through. So those storms are definitely going to hit us, though, that's for sure. Here's a look at radar. We'll look at another quick track on those storms. And we're looking roughly, my guess is still 40-ish miles an hour, but I'm just going to double check real quick the timing on these. All right, so yeah, okay. Southeast at 45, okay. And this is southeast at 35, okay. So the northern part of this line is moving at 45 miles an hour. The southern part of this line, this area, is moving a little bit slower at 35. So 35 to 45 miles an hour, that's what we're looking at for the storm motions. We'll get a quick storm track here real quick. We'll put it at about 45 just to be safe, just to be on the safe side. So here's kind of the updated times roughly, and I'm putting this at 45. So this is, I guess, being conservative, if you will. A lot of the storms are moving between 35 and 45, so this is kind of the upper echelon of the speeds. So let me set this down real quick. So we're looking at, hopefully that stays. All right. We're looking at Siloam Springs. Oh, that didn't work. Bear with me here. Okay. Sorry, we just had a little technical glitch, but we're back on. All right, let me redo that here. Let me redo that. Storm track 45. Again, hopefully no one is watching me and hopefully celebrating fireworks, but heads up, we got some storms coming in. So I just want to give folks an update. But hopefully folks are watching fireworks instead of me, but although this is going to be kind of important over the next couple hours, as this could be impacting things. So here's kind of the updated storm timing roughly. We're looking at Siloam Springs 9:51, so about another 20 minutes. However, keep in mind the gust front's going to be a little bit earlier than that. When I say gust front, kind of just a brief wind surge that's just out ahead of the main line of storms. And I'll talk about that here in a couple more minutes. Bentonville about 10:09. And just north of Bentonville, we had a little thunderstorm cell there. So north of Bentonville, Rogers, 10:16. Fayetteville, about 10:22. Muldrow, 10:27. Fort Smith, about 10:40. Poteau, 10:45 p.m. We're looking at Greenwood, about 11 p.m. Ozark, just after that, 11:07. And then Paris, about 11:30 p.m. So hopefully by, 11 p.m., the fireworks, we've already shot them off. There's a lot going on. It looks pretty crazy. It looks crazy and cool out there. But that's a look at the storm track in case anyone's joining us and trying to get a heads up what to expect. So we still have a good amount of time to get the fireworks out there. I'd say probably 30 minutes before it crosses into parts of Arkansas. So just give folks a heads up, but I'm sure everyone's blowing up their stuff right now. Shooting off the fireworks, I should say. There's a little cell that I kind of talked about just north of Rogers. This is like right over Pea Ridge? Yeah. Pea Ridge. I'm sorry, if you're trying to shoot off fireworks right now, it's just this one little rogue cell just ahead of everything, and it's probably a minor inconvenience. So there's that little severe thunderstorm in text in the upper left corner. It says right until 10:15 p.m. That's for McDonald County in Missouri. So that's for Anderson, Neosho, Knoll, Seneca for the next 45 minutes. And we continue to see 6-mile wind gusts. And there's that gust front I was talking about. Let's get this off. There's that gust front, guys. Let me loop this the last 30 minutes, and we'll get back to some cameras here. There we go. That thin green line, that's almost to Siloam Springs. This little thin green line, I'll draw it out for you. Kind of see it extends all the way down to far western Sequoia County. That storm outflow, that's good. That hopefully means that this storm is expected to weaken, and it will probably eventually start to weaken a little bit here. We kind of expected that to be the case. So let's hope that we get that to happen pretty quickly as that storm races its way southeastward about 40-ish miles an hour. Here's a look at some of our web cameras. Fort Smith, they moved their fireworks celebrations up to 9. And I'm not sure if it's still going on, but we can take a look. Looks like, so we're looking at the U.S. Marshals Museum right now, and it looks like the fireworks were happening. This is in Fort Smith. Fireworks were happening over here. It looks like I think they probably just ended. They probably just had the finale a couple minutes ago, maybe. And then this behind my head is not fireworks. That is lightning from the thunderstorm. So thunderstorm fireworks, I guess, if you will. And that's what we're looking at right now. So it looks like those fireworks have ended. So that's good news. We got them in. We hopefully got those in. We'll look elsewhere. I want to say Fayetteville's show has also ended. And we'll take a look at our Slim Chickens camera here. I can still hear a lot going on right now in my outside of our studio. Yeah, so okay, I just got to check something real quick. Okay, I'm going to jump to that real quick. So what we're looking at right now, this storm, this isn't even the main line. I actually have this camera. So we're looking from our Slim Chickens camera. Fulbright Expressway would be, gosh, if I can pull the camera up here. Fulbright Expressway would be on the bottom part of your screen. So the main line, so we're technically looking north. The main line is to our west. So if I would rotate this camera to the west, which I'm going to do right now, you'd be able to see even more lightning. There we go. That's what we're talking about. A highly electrified storm. That's the main line. And I'll tilt this down so you can see Fulbright Expressway. Our station would be roughly right in this vicinity. Lots of lightning, of course, covering. So that's the main line of storms that is pretty much coming toward the camera. What's interesting is that if I flip this camera and we're going to rotate this, now we're going north, we don't have a severe thunderstorm to our north, technically. But we do have a thunderstorm with a special weather statement. What that means is that we're talking about wind gusts up to, I believe it was 45 miles an hour and some nickel-sized hail, I believe. Yeah, wind gusts up to 40 and penny-sized hail for this cell that I'll kind of roll here if we can get this off the screen. Okay, here we go. So this is what we were looking into, this little thunderstorm. So Pea Ridge might have seen some pea-sized hail, maybe some 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts coming out of that. So it's some small hail firing over Pea Ridge, but you know, it's just outside Bentonville, outside Rogers, outside Bella Vista, and it hasn't really been moving a whole lot. So it's not severe right now, but definitely kind of a little bit of a stronger thunderstorm that the Weather Service was kind of looking at. But that, if we loop this, the last 30 minutes hasn't really been moving a whole lot. Yeah, it's been, you know, almost stationary. Yeah, not really moving a whole lot. So this is a 30-minute radar loop. Just continues to fire right over Pea Ridge, just east of Interstate 49. And this is what we're looking at. It looks like our strongest part of the line right now, I would probably say, is this part of the line. You can kind of tell because it almost has the most lightning, almost has more of that bowing segment that's coming out. So heads up if we're maybe in Lafleur County. This is still going to take some time before it reaches you, but you know, just a heads up there, as that's probably the strongest part of the line as it surges its way southeastward. We had a wind gust of up to 50 miles an hour in Eufaula, which is right here. That's where our 50-mile wind gust was, in Eufaula. Chakota's getting slammed right now. Gore is next in line, about to get slammed with some very heavy rain, some strong winds. Looks like things are slowly starting to weaken a little bit. We still have those severe thunderstorms to talk about. In fact, if we go to our POTO camera, I believe our POTO camera is pointing just due west. What's going on here? Okay, POTO camera is not doing us justice. So we gotta, let's switch to another camera here. If we go back to the Rogers camera, so here we are. So we're looking for Mercy Rogers. Whoa, that was cool. Right, lots of lightning, lots of fireworks happening on the horizon. That's what all these blinking lights are. Lots of people celebrating, and they still have time. But pretty soon, we're going to have to start taking this lightning threat pretty seriously. Because as I showed you guys on radar, those storms are already pushed through Adair and Delaware and Adair County. They're about to reach Siloam Springs. So technically, right, Rogers, Bentonville, Springdale, Fayetteville, we're just east of Siloam Springs. But I'd say probably once those storms reach the Siloam Springs area, we're probably going to have to, keep in mind that there's not just a wind threat, but a serious lightning threat. There's a ton of lightning with these storms. And I know there's a lot of people outside, and we just want everyone to be safe. I don't want to feel like I'm preaching to you all. I'm just trying to, bring up the most important things to keep in mind here. So that's a look at Rogers. And, we'll keep, this live stream is going to be up for another 15 to 20 minutes. It's technically going to end at 9:58, 9:59 because I was going to have to get ready for the 10 o'clock newscast, but we don't even know if the 10 o'clock newscast is going to happen, so we'll see what happens here. I'm going to do one more storm track for people, just as a heads up, and then I'm probably going to cut my mic and just have this radar loop, and then probably go between some web cameras here while I get some stuff figured out. So we're just going to do one more storm track for everyone, and then we'll probably just have this radar loop for you guys all. Okay. Still moving about 40 to 45, just to be on the safe side. So right now we're looking, and this is probably the last storm track I'll do for at least 20 minutes. XNA Airport about 10:07 p.m. Sallisaw 10:13. Fayetteville about 10:30 p.m. Mountainburg 10:37. Fort Smith, we've been calling you guys out, Fort Smith, for about 10:30, 10:40-ish. Looks like we're still probably right on par, a little over an hour out. Ozark a little after 11 p.m. Timing really hasn't changed there. Greenwood 11 p.m. Boonville, Clarksville, getting closer to 11:30 p.m. So that's a look at those line of storms that continues to push its way eastward. And is there anyone in the booth that can hear me right now? Can you cut my mic real quick? Actually, my mic's still up? Okay, cool. Yeah, so just a heads up, everyone. I'm going to cut my mic real quick. I got to get a few things situated here, and then we'll go from there. So we're just going to have a radar loop here for you guys, and then my mic's going to be cut until further notice.
Test, test. Yeah, I'm on. Okay, so if you're still listening to us on the stream, we're going to go back on the 5 News at 10 due to the CBS coverage of the 4th of July is still ongoing, maybe pushed back. And we figured since things are kind of going here still and now entering our area, we decided we'd go on and kind of resume things here as we get into later tonight. So Noah Simmons, Danny Cassidy on right now. Still kind of getting our chords figured out here, but we're on, we're live again. The main concern with these storms is going to be 60-mile-per-hour winds, as well as maybe some small hail and heavy rainfall. We are not expecting anything tornadic out of this, but of course we will make sure that that does not absolutely happen. We'll be on the stream throughout as this moves in. So a little bit ahead of schedule. Previously was thought about maybe about midnight. Now these storms, as you can see, on our western edge. Noah's been here all night tracking it, and I'll send it over to Noah whenever he's ready.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Yeah, so obviously we've been talking about those storms for a while now, and as Danny mentioned, maybe 1 to 2 hours ahead of schedule, but at least for the most part, we're almost at 10 p.m. We've had, an hour and a half to get those fireworks celebrations in, but pretty soon this line is going to be racing its way eastward, and that's going to become, obviously, yes, a wind threat and a heavy rain threat, but also a lightning threat. I know there's a lot of folks that are going to be out and about for the 4th of July celebrations, as you should. But as that line of storms works its way inward, of course, lots of lightning with it, and we can pull up some of those web cameras there, and that's going to continue to give us, of course, that additional, lightning hazard out there. So that's what we're going to be looking at here over the next, 2 hours as these storms roll through. There has been some signs of some weakening, so that's some good news, and we'll kind of jump to that in a little bit. But we'll start to look at some of these cameras. Well, first one we'll take a look at that was really active for us just a short time ago was our Mercy Rogers camera. And you might see a bunch of lightning start to kind of fire up here. You'll still see some fireworks there along the horizon going on there. You can kind of see little bigger celebrations there. And then, of course, if you look in the sky, right, some lightning that's going to be pushing its way eastward. We'll take a look at some of our other web cameras here. There we go. We'll go to the Slim Chickens one, where we had it pointed at the Fayetteville fireworks that was happening at the mall. And technically, this is pointed north-northeast where those fireworks were happening, but we still had that one little cell. This is actually a storm near Pea Ridge that we're looking at, this little lightning here. If we were to rotate that camera a little bit west, we would be able to see that storm as that approaches its way to the, as Danny's kind of moving that camera a little bit. So now we're kind of rotating this a little bit northwestward, Fulbright Expressway right down here, and that's that line of storms that's going to be coming pretty much at the camera. And our station would be kind of back in here in this vicinity, kind of behind my back. But that's basically the direction where we're going to be seeing those storms. You kind of see, of course, the lightning illuminating some of those thunderstorm clouds out there right now. So that's kind of a look at what we're seeing out there currently. And there's a look back at radar. We can go to our, potentially our Fort Smith camera. This is actually our Fort Smith Marshall Museum camera. You'll probably be able to see some more lightning, especially on the right side of your screen there. And there's the river in the background. The fireworks were happening on the left side of your screen. The bridge is in the background. Of course, lots of lightning illuminating. So that's kind of just, looking at all of our web cameras. Of course, it's, super dark out, so we can't, see a ton. But every time the lightning illuminates those storm clouds, then sometimes you can maybe see a bit of a shelf cloud that's usually associated with this line of storms. And this is what we're looking at here with this line. This new polygon that came out for southwestern Benton County, all of western Washington County, west of 49, northwestern Crawford County. This is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and then hail up to, say, maybe nickel-sized. So we're not seeing super big hail, but of course we have the wind threat with that. And we kind of talked about that in the newscast yesterday, but again today as well, as that wind surge kind of continues to push its way eastward. And there's that little gust front. So the storms, the outflow from those storms is pushing out from the storm. And the reason that's good news is because that storm outflow continues to race its way eastward. So that's some rain-cooled air. As it continues to race its way eastward, the main line of storms behind here doesn't have all that warm, humid air to ingest in the inflow. And so sometimes that storm can start to weaken a little bit. And I would suspect it's probably going to start to happen here if it hasn't happened or started to happen already. And that's what we're looking at with that line of storms kind of rolling through. And Danny, let me know if you have your bearings or if you're still trying to switch things over there.
Still working here, so keep going. But yeah, as Noah mentioned, still looking at, again, winds maybe up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. And as Noah mentioned, you see that little green line near Sallisaw, that outflow, so to speak, can sometimes cut underneath the storms a little bit and hopefully weaken them. So again, these are going to probably move through by about, I'd say, midnight on our eastern edge. And then once that line is through, then we're going to be done with severe weather for the night. So that's the good news, is that this is going to be kind of a one-stop shop. And we could still see some rain and maybe some thunderstorms behind it, but once this line does move through, then we'll be done for the night.
That is a great point. And then, Danny, if you need to switch to Max 2 and you need to hijack the computer, by all means go. I can just talk with radar here for the next few minutes. So here's kind of the broad view of some of those thunderstorms that are kind of pushing through the region. Delaware County, Adair County, right, we're getting hit. So from Jay to Stillwell, we're getting hit with some of those stronger winds. We've had some wind gust reports of, 50, 60 miles an hour out there. And that line of storms continues to push its way southeastward. So here's that little gust front that we've been talking about. It's about to enter Sallisaw. It's kind of hard to tell how strong this little thin green line, that little gust front outflow is, but maybe 40 to 50 miles an hour. The bulk of the strongest line of storms, though, is kind of on the southern end of this line. You kind of see west of Sallisaw, west of Poto. I tried pulling up our Poto camera a little bit earlier, but it was kind of a little blurry and foggy. But here's that little strongest area between, say, Sallisaw and McAllister. So that's the strongest line of storms as it pushes its way southeastward. So that's probably the most, I don't want to say concerning, but I guess I'll say concerning out of this whole line right now. Because if you look over the last, 30 minutes to an hour, potentially the lightning has come down just a little bit along this northern half of the complex, indicating that the storm's slowly starting to weaken a little bit. And hopefully that kind of continues to be the case as we can get that weakening trend as it's basically about to cross that Arkansas-Oklahoma border in the next, 10, 15 minutes. And that's what we've been talking about. So it still looks like Fort Smith doesn't reach, Fort Smith area or Van Buren area until probably at least another half an hour. And so that's what we're looking at for the River Valley in terms of Fayetteville, Rogers, Bella Vista, as those storms are racing their way southeastward. Those probably don't reach us until, I'd say, another 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. So that's why that severe thunderstorm polygon continues. And it's going to be for 6 mile an hour wind gusts and then up to, say, nickel-sized hail. So penny to nickel size, about that big in diameter. We weren't really expecting a ton of hail with that, but that's what we're seeing out there as we're kind of going through some of these severe thunderstorm warnings. But hopefully, if the storms have potentially, raced a little bit quicker, maybe moved here about an hour sooner than maybe, say, 11 p.m. or midnight, since we're getting here about 10 p.m., maybe that can, push back, push ahead the severe threat timing that we're still talking about. 3, 4 a.m., we might be still talking about severe weather in our far eastern counties. Maybe that timeline gets pushed back a little bit earlier. So hopefully that would be a good scenario for us. But still going to talk about those thunderstorms that are racing through. We had a couple questions earlier, probably about 30 minutes ago, about any rotation. Our wind shear is just not great with these storms. It basically just means wind shear, the change in speed and the change in direction as you go up in height. And usually you need lots of changes in speed, lots of wind shear, lots of changes in direction, also wind shear, to get a lot of rotation. And we're just not really seeing that. So we're looking from our Fort Smith radar. We'll jump to the Tulsa radar. And our winds have definitely come down based on the last time I looked this about 30 minutes ago. There's that little gust front, that little outflow that's already past Siloam Springs. And it's already probably past, say, Gravette, Decatur, Gentry. And it's probably about to reach the northern flank of Interstate 49 in Benton County. It's already, raced through Stillwell. So that's going to give you a little gust of wind and for sure some rain-cooled air. It probably won't start raining immediately, but that's what we're looking at right now. Just kind of looking at a couple little things and seeing if anything looks suspicious. Nothing necessarily jumps out at me. Let's see if we can go back to radar here. So, and I'm being very picky here. If we wanted to maybe, and it looks like this might have come down, maybe east of Colcord, maybe just a tiny bit of rotation, but that would need a pulse up if we were to be really concerned. And it kind of was collocated with a little bit of a inflow notch there east of Colcord, kind of west of Lake Flint Creek. But again, that's very weak. So, we'll keep our eye on it. But mainly this is just a strong wind gust scenario. We'll jump to hail. People were wondering about hail a little bit ago, and we can pull that up. And so the hail right now, again, it's not super big. In fact, there's really no hail in the northern flank, maybe a little bit of hail near McAllister. And then there's a bit of hail in McDonald County north of Bella Vista. But overall, with that main line of storms, we're just not really expecting too much in the form of hail. Something I haven't looked at, and I'm not sure if we've had any updates, is our severe thunderstorm watch that I did expect to probably get continued into LaFleur County, and that's exactly what's happening right now. So the severe thunderstorm watch was for Delaware, Adair, and Sequoia County until midnight. LaFleur County got added, as well as some other Oklahoma counties near McAllister. And so that's what that little pink area, all those little yellow, orange boxes, that's just that severe thunderstorm warning as that line continues to work its way southeastward. So that's all we're looking at from there, from that standpoint. And we'll jump back to radar. And we'll loop this here for the last 30 minutes. Seeing if we have any new updates to pass along. Doesn't look like it. This was about, gosh, almost 15 minutes ago. The Weather Service was talking about some of that outflow, continuing ahead of the line of storms, encountering kind of a stronger cap. So a cap means a lid of warm air aloft. And if you have a lid of warm air aloft, your air can't exactly rise anymore. And so if your air can't rise anymore, then your thunderstorm can't necessarily grow. And so if we have a bit of a cap in the area and some of that outflow that continues to race its way eastward, that means we'll probably have a gradual but slow weakening of this line of storms as it crosses into Arkansas. And we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier today and even yesterday as well. So that's what we're looking at right now. Danny, you have any updates?
So nothing at the moment. I would say we're still tracking that line is still kind of just really that main line. And again, off to the northwest, all you're seeing is just kind of some moderate rainfall behind it. In terms of any flash flood concern, I know we're watching for maybe, some heavy rain out of this. With how fast these are moving, I don't think that'll be too much of an issue. And thankfully, this past week has been fairly quiet. We've had a few spotty pop-ups here and there. But thankfully, the flash flood risk should be lower. We've had enough time for the ground to soak up all that rain we saw during the month of June, which for Fayetteville was the second wettest on record, and Fort Smith was the 11th wettest. So quite an historic month of June there. But for now, looks like things are okay. We're just seeing, again, some heavy rainfall. And you do notice kind of the north end of that cell as Noah's kind of waving over it. Notice how the reflectivity going from dark red to kind of more of a lighter orange. And along with that, you can always look at the lightning. The lightning is not quite as prominent on the top end of it as it is on the bottom end. So that's usually a sign of weakening. We could still see some gusty winds out of this, but I'd expect, especially due to that outflow from the top end of that cell, I wonder if that may be getting downgraded to a special weather statement in the next probably 30 minutes once this warning is allowed to expire, which I believe goes until about 10:45. But yeah, that'll be something to watch. So it looks like more of the south end of the cell, south of I-40 is where the strongest part of it is right now. Still can see some heavy rain and some lightning, but you can see where more the lightning is, where the darker reds are. That's the strongest end of the cell, heading into Sequoia County there, and then southeastward towards LaFleur County.
Thank you for that, Danny. And yeah, as I kind of did that little 1 hour radar loop, Danny exactly said my thoughts, and that northern flank of storms is pretty much weakening. And I tend to agree with Danny. I wouldn't be surprised if they either let this top warning expire or they just cancel it earlier and they just kind of replace it with a special weather statement with some wind gusts a little bit lower than, say, 60. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And real quick, Danny, if you don't mind checking the POTO camera.
Yep.
I checked it a little bit earlier. It was a little wonky, so I'm not sure if we can figure out what's going on there as we kind of look at some of these storms. And let me know if you have some of the Fort Smith or POTO cameras pulled up, as that line of storms is probably strongest in Sequoia County. That gust front is pretty much pushing through Sallisaw right now. And it's already, near Gore, Vian, so it's already, pushing through. So 6-mile-an-hour wind gust possible with that as that line continues to race its way southeastward. So this is probably a stronger line of storms compared to the northern flank that's pushing through western Benton County and western Washington County. So this is probably our strongest flank as it stands right now. The gust front, some rain-cooled air is already pushing through Sallisaw. Wouldn't be surprised if, Muldrow and Roland, those areas start to get that gust front a little bit sooner, as well as Van Buren, say places like Cedarville in Crawford County. We'll probably start to see that kind of push its way a little bit southeastward as that line of storms works its way into the region. We can look at I can pull up just briefly before we do a little quick storm track on this, some of the severe thunderstorm warnings that we have out there. And this is going to be until this warning right here is going to be until 10:15 p.m. So another, 10 minutes for up to 6-mile wind gusts. This is for Chakotah, Fort Gibson, McAllister. So just outside our coverage area. But the reason why we're mentioning it is because northern Lafleur County is right here. And so northern Lafleur County, places like Podo, say Spiro, Panama, Bacoshi area, is technically in the path of this as it surges its way southeastward. Again, this is the strongest line, the strongest part of that line segment as it races its way southeastward. And Danny, do you have any of the cameras by chance?
Yeah, I've got Lafleur County, the Podo one, if you want to take a look at that one.
Okay. It looks like Hub, or the Hub in Charlotte for the CBS. Looks like we're going to be wrapping up pretty quickly here. So it looks like our newscast is going to be probably coming out here pretty soon. So what we're going to have to do is probably cancel this stream. We'll still have the newscast, and then if these storms are still severe, we'll of course kind of jump back on the live stream. But Luke, can you confirm that our newscast is about to start here soon?
No, what we might be able to do too is if this is on the weather impact stream, we can keep the radar up and we can keep that going. We can put that on a separate channel.
Yep.
And then we'll have our newscast on 5 News Plus. And then what I can do behind the scenes is when you do your forecast, we'll put that on the stream so people can still watch even though we're going to be doing our newscast. So our newscast will be on 5 News on air as well as 5 News Plus, but we'll keep this stream going to give you radar. And then when Noah does his forecast, we'll keep that on as well.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And we'll go ahead and we'll go from there. Again, it's going to be, this radar is going to be on our weather impact 24/7 stream on YouTube. But again, we got that newscast about to start here in a couple minutes, so we gotta prepare for that here. outflow gust front, some rain-cooled air coming out of that storm. Usually a good sign that it starts to weaken a little bit, but still could see some 50 to 60-mile-hour wind gusts with this severe warning. And then probably our strongest line is between, say, Salisaw and McAllister as this line of storms continues to kind of race its way southeastward across not just Sequoia County, but also parts of LaFleur County as well. It's going to be knocking on their doorstep. That warning is also for up to 60-mile-hour wind gusts as well. Here's kind of a quick storm track with that stronger cluster that's kind of pushing through. It's in Spiro just before 11 p.m., Poto about 11:12, the Walmart in Greenwood about 11:20, Heebner 11:30, Boonville almost midnight there if that were to kind of continue to hold itself together. And we're actually looking at a camera there from our Mercy Fort Smith camera kind of pointing this west. Sometimes the lightning illuminates the clouds in addition with some of the fireworks celebrating America's 250th. Coming up, though, we'll track the rest of those storms through the overnight hours. We'll talk about the rest of not just tonight, but also what to expect for the rest of your weekend. Coming right up.
All right, Noah, thank you.
Well, we've been tracking some of those 4th of July storms kind of pushing through the region late here on this 4th of July, kind of on schedule, if not maybe an hour earlier. We kind of talked about 11 p.m. midnight, and it is starting to push through parts of the river valley. Here's actually a Fort Smith camera. You kind of see a little bit here. This is a big old shelf cloud. I would wish lightning would illuminate a little bit better, but it's this whole little light background here is a big old shelf cloud. I kind of see lightning there in the background of that. So that shelf cloud is an association with this big line of storms that we've been tracking the last, 2 to 3 hours. It's really weakened in northwest Arkansas. We also talked about that little gust and outflow boundary there. Really just kind of forces the storm to kind of just weaken. It can't ingest more humid air. So that's what's happening in northwest Arkansas right now. The severe warning got completely eliminated. However, the strongest part of the line segment is especially across Crawford County, Sequoia County, Sebastian County, and northern LaFleur County. South Hall is getting hammered right now. Here's that little gust front. So expect the storm to weaken at least somewhat, but still expecting up to 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this as it races through. So could have some sporadic power outages out there between, say, Fort Smith and McAllister, Oklahoma, as that line starts to kind of race its way eastward. Technically, we still have a severe thunderstorm watch for all of our Oklahoma counties until midnight. Wouldn't be surprised if Delaware and Adair County get dropped pretty soon here, as the bulk of that severe potential is off to your east. And probably not expecting the watch to get carried over. If it were, maybe it would be Sebastian, maybe Scott County. But for now, that's until midnight tonight. Here's the latest look at Futurecast by about 11 p.m. So the next 20 minutes has kind of a decent handle there. Those storms kind of pushing through, yes, northwest Arkansas, but kind of a heavier cluster there across parts of the River Valley and eventually parts of the Ouachita Mountains. I do expect a very quick weakening trend. We already showed you that on radar, and that weakening trend really continues all the way by 3 a.m. Not sure if it's going to be completely quiet, but there's definitely going to be not as much activity by 3, 4 a.m. That's some good news. Probably maybe not a loud night for a lot of folks, as we certainly had a lot of fireworks earlier for America's 250th. Again, to Sunday morning, could have a couple of sporadic showers closer and just south of that Interstate 40 corridor. I think that's our better chance of seeing a few more showers start to redevelop later in the day. So we'll watch that with a few more peaks of sunshine. But overall, we do expect a mostly dry day, especially in northwest Arkansas, where it's just a little bit lower rain chance. Temperatures starting out a little on the cooler side, upper 60s into the morning, and then we're warming up back into the middle to maybe even a couple upper 80s with partly to mostly cloudy conditions. For the River Valley, I have isolated storms both in the morning and closer to midday as well before we start to warm things up by 4 or 5 p.m., potentially touching that 90-degree mark. Now, in terms of the high temperatures overall, 80s northwest Arkansas, maybe close to 90 in the River Valley. That'll depend on some cloud cover and some of those rain chances. And speaking of those rain chances, I've actually lowered things these next several days. We're actually trending drier Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday, Thursday before another system could bring us maybe a few showers out there through the region. So here's the 10-day forecast. Sunday, lots of dry time, only 20% chance there, mainly into the morning. And then we're trending drier Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Might even have to drop the chances down a little bit. And then those isolated storms possibly toward the end of the week, Friday and Saturday. Temperatures not exactly cooling off. They're still pretty toasty in those lower 90s. For the River Valley, speaking of toasty, it's pretty hot this week. After we get to Sunday, we'll start to see a gradual warming process Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Fairly dry, though, Wednesday, Thursday. Temperatures up to the, not just mid-90s, but even some upper 90s, and even look to 7 to 10 days from now, forecasting 97 to 98. So it looks like a pretty hot forecast on the horizon for a large majority of us.
Noah, thank you. Well, if there's one 4th of July tradition that never gets old, it's a baseball game on a summer night. Hear from local fans on how they spent the holiday at Arvest Ballpark after the break.
Meteorologist Noah Simmons here, just talking about the remnants of these storms that we're still tracking just a little bit longer, and we expected these to weaken, and they have come down quite some. In fact, northwest Arkansas, we're just not seeing a ton of activity. Still some heavier, pockets of rainfall in Benton County, a couple little sporadic thunder showers across Washington County. This is that storm Alpha that really is coming out of that storm, allowing a lot of this to weaken as it crosses into Arkansas. We still have this little heavier cluster of storms, though, that I'm going to zoom in closer to the Arkansas River Valley, kind of right near, say, Sequoyah County and northern LaFleur County. So Muldrow to Pecola getting hit with some heavy rain and storms. This actually goes 15 more minutes. So our only severe thunderstorm warning goes for 15 more minutes until 11:15 for Muldrow, Pecola, Poteau, and Roland. It even includes parts of South Fort Smith there, along, say, if you're near Jenny Lynn Road or south along I-540, and then just west of Greenwood, although Greenwood's probably going to see that little gust front, but also potentially the remnants of that storm as it looks to continue to weaken a little bit. And this part of the storm there that had a severe thunderstorm warning a little bit earlier has slowly just come below severe criteria. But overall, this is probably the strongest cluster of storms that we're looking at. Of course, there's some more redevelopment near the Poteau area, so some heavy pockets of rainfall as we're starting to see that line push its way southeastward. And meteorologist Danny Cassidy is also with us.
Hello.
For a short time on his day off. So he's helping us out. Appreciate that. And looks like Danny's mic is up. So Danny, if you have anything to pass along.
I was going to say, nothing at the moment. We'll continue to watch these, but as Noah mentioned, yeah, those storms really, especially in northwest Arkansas, have fallen apart. There's a little bit of a cap as well, basically meaning warm air aloft is kind of preventing that. And we're just getting a new update now from the National Weather Service, from actually even that cell that's currently in LaFleur County that's currently warned. As of now, no reports of any 60-mile-per-hour gusts, and the velocity, the winds on this have not shown maybe 60 miles per hour. So I think what they're going to do is once this expires at 11:15, they're going to put what's called a special weather statement, basically saying it's strong but not quite severe. Remember, severe thunderstorm warning is 58 miles per hour, and these winds maybe up to 55, so just below that. So I do think we're going to keep the stream up for a little bit, just to keep an eye on things. Let's see how these storms react, because there is a little bit of energy left over, but in terms of these strengthening over anything 60 miles per hour, I think that's pretty unlikely here for the rest of the night.
Right, and I think, as the Weather Service is saying that, they're going to probably let those warnings go here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I say warnings plural, but technically we just have one singular warning here in the coverage area. They're probably going to let that go in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and then as Danny just highlighted, kind of replace it with a special weather statement. So I'm going to kind of keep talking about radar here. As that line of storms kind of continues to push its way southeastward, you can kind of see that little thin gust front, which it's very hard to see, but it almost kind of extends, say, east of Interstate 49 corridor, so maybe near the Goshen area, just east of 49, all the way this little thin green line, and that's what really allowed those storms to weaken. They can't ingest any more warm or humid air or anything like that, and that's kind of why those storms really just collapsed on themselves, and we kind of expected that to happen, but it was basically, they just fell on their face, especially in northwest Arkansas, where those storms have really just weakened, and they went from 50, 6-mile wind gusts to maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. Still some heavier pockets of rainfall, though. You kind of look at Benton County there, where maybe a couple fireworks were maybe cut a little short. I still can hear a little bit outside our station where it's not necessarily raining. Our station's right here. Still some sporadic showers elsewhere. Lots of light to moderate stratiform rain on the backside of this, so could get a brief soaking there, especially kind of near Siloam Springs and down to Stillwell. But kind of just a little heavier cluster of storms kind of moving over Beaver Lake right now, and eventually going to slowly meander its way into western Carroll County. And so that's kind of a look at some of those showers and storms right now. Again, there's just that one rogue severe thunderstorm, and we can pull up some cameras. In fact, we can look at, we'll pull up the U.S. Marshal Museum camera, where there was actually fireworks about an hour and a half ago. They did move those fireworks up just a little bit earlier just to be on the safe side, but oh yeah, it's getting lit up real nice on the horizon there. The bridge, of course, in the background, that's where we expect all that lightning, and there you kind of see it there. Probably the strongest cluster of the storm is probably back behind here where that bridge, where the bridge is, and there's where the lightning's happening. So that's where the strongest cluster of storms is. It's technically has that severe thunderstorm warning for South Fort Smith, so probably just outside downtown. In fact, we can zoom in a little bit closer there. But, we're not looking at a ton of action in Fort Smith at the time being. It's just kind of near the casino, near Pensacola. Spiral's getting hit down to Panama, Muldrow, and here's downtown Fort Smith. So the warning's just outside of your coverage area, or that's not outside your coverage area, outside the downtown limits is what I'm trying to say. As those storms work their way eastward, but they have shown some signs of weakening. And as that happens, we're going to see that severe thunderstorm warning polygon. We're going to see that disappear in about 9 minutes. So about 11:15 is when it expires. Doesn't mean the storms completely go away. We'll still have some heavy rain, some thunder and lightning, but we have had that gradual weakening trend of those storms as they push their way southeast. We can look at a couple more web cameras here. We'll look at the, let's see here, that one's going to be the best one. We'll look at the Mercy Fort Smith camera. Probably not going to see it here, but we had a nice, cool shelf cloud earlier. But I'm assuming either that shelf cloud is either past us or maybe it's right on top of us as Danny's kind of moving that camera here. And we're going to be facing, I believe, what, southwest, Danny?
Yeah, that's going to be roughly southwest.
Okay, you can almost kind of see that little shelf cloud here. Some lightning might illuminate it here. Yep, you kind of see, right? So the rain and all the heavy rain, the thunder, lightning below this, but you kind of see that little cloud base. Doesn't mean the storm's rotating, just means, right, you got that shelf cloud out of that rain-cooled air rising up, condensing to kind of form that shelf cloud. And that's exactly what we're seeing out there. This is from our Mercy Fort Smith camera, kind of tilting this a little bit south, southwest, roughly. And you can kind of see that here. We'll wait just a little bit more, potentially, to see if lightning kind of illuminates that. But the bulk of the strongest storm cluster is just there. Oh, that was a good shot right there. Is just south of the Fort Smith proper area that we're looking at. And then next camera I'm going to go to, Danny, in about 30 seconds is going to be the ACHE camera.
Okay.
But yeah, here's kind of a look at the radar. Again, that's kind of where that heaviest cluster of storm is, just south of Fort Smith, pushing into Poto. Poto had a couple little pop-up showers a little bit earlier today, and kind of had a cool shot there from some of our web cameras. Obviously getting heavy rain. It's dark. You can't really see a ton unless lightning illuminates it. We'll jump to our Fort Smith ACHE camera, and we'll see what we can see, if anything. Maybe we can get a better picture, maybe a better, whoa, got a strobe light going on. So yeah, here we go, and obviously lots of lightning, and I'm assuming we're going to be, I don't even know. Danny, do we know what position? I'm assuming probably south.
Yeah, it's geared more towards kind of the south-southwest.
Okay, and again, that's what we're looking at right now. And pretty much with all of our storm complexes that have moved through the last, 2 months, it's happened right late at night where we don't have a lot of daylight. We don't have any daylight right now to illuminate these things. We just have to wait for lightning. And there it is going on right now. It's kind of like a strobe light going on. We had a lot of strobe lights in the form of fireworks earlier today, but that's kind of what we're looking at from our Fort Smith ACHE, kind of pointing that southwest a little bit. So that's what we're looking at from that web camera. Again, some heavy rainfall. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to communities like Hackett. Hartford's going to start to see this a little bit near Trestle Ford, just in LaFleur County. Here's Poto, Cameron, Panama. Spiro would be kind of north up here. Bococi's in the far upper left. So obviously, we still got the severe warning that continues for the next 5-6 minutes. But that's just going to get replaced with a special weather statement. You won't be able to see that little statement thing on the map here just because it won't be a severe warning. But that's kind of what we're going to be talking about as it continues to push its way into Sebastian County. Here's Hartford right below my finger. And it looked like we were starting to see some reports of some wind gusts from some of the storms and some of the gust fronts that kind of rolled through northwest Arkansas. Specifically, XNA Airport had a 41-mile-an-hour wind gust, which is kind of what showed you those storms really just weaken as they kind of crossed east of Interstate 49. Drake Field at Fayetteville had a gust of 46 miles an hour, which is below severe limits, but that's enough to maybe bring some small tree limbs down. But that's what we're currently looking at right now. Danny, you have anything to pass along?
No new reports, but yeah, you might be looking at the radar and you might be thinking, well, it doesn't look very impressive. How are the winds still producing? Well, with this time of year, with how hot the air is at the surface, but then also up above how cold the air is aloft. That cold air is heavy, it's dense. So basically what's happening is you're getting from the showers that are falling, this cold air rushing to the surface. And sometimes you get some heavy rainfall. You can even just get a little bit of winds, these downburst winds, they're called, out of them. So that's why even though Northwest Arkansas doesn't look very impressive, you can still get some pretty strong winds on that outer edge of that cell, or outer edge of that line that can get some strong winds. So I would say that main line, you can kind of see it in eastern Washington County, eastern Benton County. That's where you're going to see maybe some gusty winds come out of that. Again, I'm not expecting anything severe, but once that kind of line, you can kind of see it better in the river valley, close to the radar. That's where we're going to see what's called like the gust front, so to speak. That's where those stronger winds are out ahead of the storm. And then behind it, maybe some gustier winds from those downbursts as well. But again, I think for now, the severe threat looks pretty low. The highest chance is going to be where you're seeing the heavy rain right now in LaFleur County over Poteau. But we'll keep an eye on things here, I think, once even after this expires. But I think for the most part, the severe threat looks pretty low, especially after this line moves through south of LaFleur and Scott County.
Yes, and I kind of, as Danny was kind of mentioning that little gust front, I kind of tried to draw it a little bit to maybe give folks a little better visual out there, stretching from, say, Heavener to, say, maybe Mansfield up to, say, Charleston to, say, Ozark. That's kind of where that little gust front would be as it kind of marches away eastward. And as that continues to race its way eastward, it cuts off all the warm, humid air that the storm can ingest in its updraft. And so that's why we've seen that weakening trend, not just in Northwest Arkansas, but we're continuing to see that weakening trend across parts of Sebastian County, LaFleur County, eventually Scott County as well. And that's what we're looking at right now with some of those thunderstorms. To kind of just take that little dot line off, to kind of just go back and talk about what we expect really the rest of the night. I mean, here's our severe thunderstorm watch that goes for all of our Oklahoma counties. I mean, if we're watching from Delaware, Adair County, I mean, we're technically under a severe thunderstorm watch, but the severe threat has already passed. Sequoia County, if we're, say, probably west of, I don't know, if we're in Salsa or west, we're pretty much done. We're just kind of seeing that rain. Still kind of hold on if we're in maybe southeastern Sequoia County, and of course LaFleur County, we still have that severe potential that we're keeping our eye on with that one severe thunderstorm warning. That will expire in about 2 minutes here, just under 2 minutes. That's when it's set to expire. And overall, I can jump to future radar, and we can expect those storms to, of course, kind of fizzle out. And this is the HRR model, so the high resolution rapid refresh model that we usually show on air. And the timing was kind of a little off earlier today, and the storms kind of moved in maybe 1 to 2 hours ahead of schedule. And you kind of still see it's almost a little bit behind schedule here because it has storms reaching basically the Arkansas-Oklahoma border at 1 a.m. And so that's, we can adjust that time a little bit earlier. So, but basically what I'm trying to show is that we expect a pretty good weakening trend, by 3 a.m. I think by 3 a.m. a lot of this is probably already fizzled out by 3, 4 a.m. And so that's kind of what we're expecting there through the overnight and into early morning hours. So we'll jump back to radar real quick. Just that one severe warning. Once it loads here in the next few seconds, it's going to pop back on. There we go. And here's a 30-minute radar loop. It's actually kind of a little bit of a nastier line of storms in southwest Missouri. That's just outside our coverage area, but between Branson and Springfield, where we got Table Rock Lake right here, so maybe some folks still on Table Rock Lake on this late Saturday night, but you kind of see that little wind surge, that Boeing segment as it races eastward. That's not our coverage area, but that's where we're seeing, that's where they're seeing a bit more severe thunderstorms. We'll go down the line. Benton County, Western Carroll County, still seeing some heavy downpours out there, and even that kind of continues between, say, Siloam Springs and Fayetteville. It's not necessarily filled in like it was back towards the Oklahoma-Arkansas border. Still some light to moderate rainfall falling in places like Stillwell. Will go down. Hasn't rained yet in Mountainburg or Alma or Van Buren. Rain's just outside, but that's kind of what we're looking at with those thunderstorms. And there's that warning that just expired. There's that gust front that basically kind of allowed that thunderstorm to continue to weaken. And that gust front's almost near the Ozark vicinity, so we might get a little bit of a cooler air there, a little bit of some gusty winds briefly for a couple of minutes. There's where the bulk of the storm action is in southern Sequoia County, LaFleur County. So, gosh, if we're in Sallisaw or west of Sallisaw, we're done. We're in the clear. And I mean, I almost want to say, and Danny, you can chime in. I mean, we're almost everyone is almost already in the clear, just because that weakening trend probably continues with that little line of storms here.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing we'll have to be watching for is if anything in northwest Arkansas, you saw that line in southwest Missouri. Does any of that kind of trickle into Carroll or Madison County? I think for now, no, but there is a little bit of instability to work with here. We'll see if it does tap into any of that. For now, it's not looking likely, but something that we'll be monitoring is, do we see anything extend southward? Because there is quite a bit of energy to work with there from that line in northwest Arkansas. In the River Valley, there's a little bit as well, and so we'll keep an eye on it. But I do think, as Noah's been mentioning, the outflow, again, storm fuel is not everything. You got to look at other variables like that outflow that's kind of cutting things up a little bit. You've also got a little bit of a cap aloft, basically meaning warm air aloft that's kind of limiting storm from strengthening, getting taller. So there's a little bit of fuel to work with, but in terms of, again, I'm expecting anything more than maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds, small hail. That's not necessarily expected. But as Noah mentioned, currently we don't have any severe warnings in the area, but we do have maybe some gusty winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour, especially in the River Valley, south of I-40. But overall, I do think, again, as Noah mentioned, that severe risk is very low for the rest of the night.
Yeah, and that's some good news as I'll kind of hop things back to radar real quick. But yeah, I mean, that's, aside from, the storms maybe moving in just slightly ahead of schedule, we were kind of talking about just before to just after midnight, and well, we're about almost 40 minutes out from midnight, and kind of see those storms kind of work their way into Arkansas there. And then we talked about a weakening trend, and that's exactly what we've been seeing, especially just as they cross into Arkansas. We had a couple severe thunderstorm warnings that were still into Benton County, Washington County, just west of 49, but then these storms really collapsed. We didn't see wind gusts over 50 or 60 miles an hour. Once we got into Washington County and Benton County, that's where those warnings expired, and then we were kind of left with this stronger cluster of storms. But then that it continues to weaken a little bit as well. In fact, if I go to a 3-hour radar loop, look at these storms. I mean, Tulsa metro area had 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts with that little strong line of storms. You can kind of see it, a ton of lightning as it rolled through Tulsa. It definitely impacted fireworks celebrations in northeast Oklahoma. But that little line of storms just really raced southward, specifically this line, rolled through McAllister, and it's still kind of severe in the far bottom part of your screen, but it's kind of a cool 3-hour radar loop where you kind of really saw those storms kind of just bow out. We had those really strong wind gusts, and then there's that little gust from that little thin green line coming out of it that allowed those storms to weaken. And you saw that in northwest Arkansas. We're seeing that in the River Valley as well. And so we'll hang out for a little bit longer to see how these storms behave a little bit. But I mean, that's certainly some good news that, maybe we missed out on the worst of the winds that places like Tulsa had, 70, 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And that's actually where there was a level 3 out of 5 enhanced severe risk. And of course, it did get a risk, increased today compared to what it was yesterday. And so we had to communicate that to you from the Storm Prediction Center. But luckily, things are trending downward, and that's some good news. It looks like, what's the National Weather Service saying here, Danny?
Yeah, so they're just saying it's just a little bit of internal talk. So basically, they're extending the watch off to our southwest for south central Oklahoma. And Tulsa is going to, if anything does pop up, they're going to cancel it right away. So you might see it get extended for parts of the region. But I do think just because our neck of the woods, we're not going to see anything extended there. So basically, it's all kind of just logistics. So you see it there. It has been canceled for our region. Off to our southwest where storms are a lot stronger, they extended that watch. And just so to kind of, because Tulsa covers more areas than just us, right? So they cover much of eastern Oklahoma, really from the northeast border down to the southeast border. So they're extending it back out to the southwest, but for us, they're canceling that. So now there is no active severe thunderstorm watch in the area. I do want to, I'll take the wheel here for a second.
Sure.
Yep. Just we were looking at those storms in southwest Missouri, so you can see where the gustier winds are. That's why it's warned. And thankfully for now, the line, as it extends a little bit farther south of there, not a ton of strong winds with that. Usually you're going to see those brighter greens. So in here, you're seeing 40 miles per hour. So you could see up to 60 there. But if we were to kind of tag in a wind here, 30 miles per hour maybe. So it is going to be below severe criteria, but that was the only kind of concern as of now, minor concern of would this line pick up any winds. But another, again, I'll reiterate, to look at is the lightning. So even just kind of looking zoomed out, you see where all this lightning is right in here north of Cassville in southwest Missouri. That's where you're going to see the stronger storms. I mean, there's a little bit in here, but there's not a ton. So sometimes when you see a lot of lightning, that can usually indicate it's a pretty strong storm. There's a lot more energy with that. And that's kind of the case for that in southwest Missouri. So that's why up towards like Mount Vernon, towards Springfield, just northwest of Branson, that line has got some stronger storms. But even the one here, we'll say in, let me turn to the lightning here, even in southern portions of southeast Oklahoma, that lightning count at 155, you might think that's a lot, but for all of the areas south of I-40, that's any lightning strikes within the last 15 minutes. That's not a ton in the grand scheme of things. And so there's not a whole lot here, which is good. We want it to be weakening. Now, if I were to zoom out a little bit, you can see all back off to the west. Okay, see how that number is really increasing, 797. Yeah, it's a lot more there. And then especially with this line in southwest Missouri, there's a ton of lightning here as well. If we were to cut this off to just say, I don't know, the Carroll County, eastern Benton County, 47 lightning. Yeah, this is not a lot of lightning strikes. So that's the good news for us, is kind of one of the things we're looking for is going to be that lightning count, how dark the reds are, how heavy does the rain look. That's sometimes an indication of the strength of the storm. So again, for right now, the only area we're going to be watching for is this area right in here from northeast Benton County into Carroll County. Could we see maybe some gustier winds? Sure, but I think otherwise most of the area will probably be non-severe. And if you're maybe up at this time of night and you're like, okay, what's going on, guys? Can I go to bed? I'd say if you live in Fort Smith, you know what, we'll do a general kind of area. If you live anywhere between, let's go all the way kind of in, and I would even include, all right, we're going to go a little weird here. All right, I'd say if you're anywhere kind of in this area between, I'd say much of northwest Arkansas and here, I think you're good to go to bed. Sequoia County, northern LaFleur County, good to go to bed. Scott County, I think you're going to be okay. Again, I think this just looks like some heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds. Really, the only area I would say to be mindful is Carroll County, but even that, I think it's going to be some gusty winds, just some heavy rain.
Yeah. And had some good news, as kind of Danny mentioned, right? We had that little severe cluster in southwest Missouri that they were kind of looking at. And we got to watch, at least the southern flank of that through parts of Carroll County, right? It's raining a little bit heavier there in Beaver Lake. So, any of our friends in Table Rock Lake near the Branson area, it'll probably hit you with some heavy downpours. And then this cluster really just continues to weaken in LaFleur County. It continues to just look weaker with every residual scan. And of course, that's pretty good. In fact, by, I'd say probably in 20 minutes or so, this cluster would have already weakened below severe criteria. Maybe this little southern flank is potentially almost out of our coverage area, hopefully. And then we can, have everyone go to bed, because I don't think we have too many fireworks going on. It's almost 11:30 p.m. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Again, here's 1 hour radar loop. Kind of see it slowly weaken a little bit there. You kind of see the northwest Arkansas kind of fizzled out a bit. Still could have some light to moderate rainfall, but even this cluster of just light rain with some residual thunder is even weakening there. And then this little cluster that was a little bit stronger here continues to weaken. There's that outflow, and that's what we're looking at right now. We'll pull up a couple more web cameras here while we're kind of just, I guess, running out the clock, if you will, kind of just, waiting to see the next 5-10 minutes if the storm strengthen or just come down a little bit. We'll look at a couple more Fort Smith cameras.
I will say, no, I don't know if any organized fireworks, but we're still hearing some outside the station in Johnson. So,
yeah, okay.
Still hearing quite a few.
Hey, at least some folks were able to get their fireworks in. And I guess, if I can zoom in here, I guess our storms have probably avoided us at the station.
So we're in Johnson, just between Fayetteville and Springdale, and yeah, it's almost like it split the gap there. So.
Maybe a few light raindrops, but that's not gonna stop a person amped up on patriotism. And why not? It's America's 250th, so.
Probably a little bit more patriotism too, but hey, we'll take it. Just say no. You can go ahead and do the cameras. One thing I will say is, again, that cell in Carroll County has strengthened a little bit. Again, we're watching it here, but I think that's really the only cell that maybe could turn severe, because that has been showing a little bit of a strengthening. But other than that, really for the most part, it's been pretty quiet. At River Valley cell kind of hanging on. Maybe some pea-size hail. It's not a lot out of that. Maybe just near Eureka Springs, penny size. Okay, so maybe some small hail. You want to go to velocity real quick, Noah? Just
Yeah,
to
sure.
see what that wind looks like.
Sure thing.
Okay, that's good. Nothing really. Usually, if you see brighter greens, that means it's strong winds. And when a darker green, I've probably seen 20 to 30 mile per hour winds. So overall, nothing too concerning at the moment. Those stronger winds still remaining in southwest Missouri. Where you see those brighter greens, that's where the stronger winds are going to be.
Yeah, so good to see. Hopefully that maybe isn't getting super crazy. We'll jump back to radar real quick, and then I'll just pull up a few web cameras there. But yeah, not a ton of hail with these storms. I mean, maybe some blueberry-sized hail there with that Carroll County cell, and we're just going to use fruit, I guess, as analogies here. Let's see. We'll pull up. What camera should we pull up, Danny, in Fort Smith?
Let's see. Right now, I think I've got the ACHE. It's a light show. That's for sure. You want to pull up that one.
Yeah, why not?
Of course, the timing is always impeccable. When you pull these up, the lightning gets a little scared. But yeah, that's really all we're seeing right now is just lightning, just scary storms, so to speak, or more bark than bite. Of course, right? When we pull up the camera, now there's a strike. But yeah, that's really all we're going to see out of this. And again, maybe some gustier winds, about 30 to 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, I mean, oh, that's a little too small. Yeah, the lightning has really come down with and I think maybe that's the reason why we weren't seeing a ton of lightnings, because the lightning's probably continuing to as I say, there's a huge strike there in the background.
We've got great luck this morning.
Yeah, maybe Mother Nature wanted to have its moment there, but that was a big lightning strike there. But earlier this evening, about 1 or 2 hours ago, we were seeing frequent lightning like I can't snap, but pretend that I'm snapping every 3-4 seconds. And now it's every, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. I'm sure there's going to be a huge lightning bolt, or as I, get cut away from the shot here. But that's kind of what we're looking at there. Again, if we were to see the most lightning, it would be in the Fort Smith area, but it just continues to weaken. Even just in the last 30-minute loop, even the reflectivity's come down. And if you've been watching us, we'll just go the last 2 hours. You'll see where it was really stronger near McAllister, near say Chakota, Oklahoma. Those bright red reflectivity, a lot of the lightning, a lot of those white lightning strikes, and then now there's just not as much moving through Poto. It's probably a little bit of heavy rain, of course, some thunder, lightning in Poto, but maybe not as much as what it was, say, 50 miles to your northwest. And we can maybe pull up the Poto camera. It was having some issues earlier this evening. Let's see what we're looking at here. I mean, we probably won't be able to see too much. Okay, looks like we fixed it, but I mean, yeah, we weren't expecting to see a whole lot to begin with. I mean, obviously that's a tree. Oh, there we go. But yeah, we're getting pelted with some rain. The wind, I mean, one good thing about having a tree here is that we can sometimes see how strong the wind is, and gosh, maybe 20 miles an hour, but the tree's just not moving super fast, and that's why that warning was dropped. Wind, you can still see some stronger wind gusts with that, and it looks like, Danny, there was a special weather statement for the Carroll County cell?
Yeah, so in Carroll County there, as we've been talking about, it's nothing to be alarmed about. We're seeing maybe 40-mile-per-hour winds and up to penny-size hail. You can see those darker reds there. As we saw that penny-size data just a little bit ago, so that's going to be on that leading edge of the line, maybe a little bit near Eureka Springs too. But you can see maybe back towards Eureka Springs, maybe up to penny size in that area. So that would be the only area of any severe weather. So there's that penny size, as Noah's pointing out, and some maybe gusty winds up to 40 miles per hour. But we're going to show you velocity here again. It doesn't show you anything that it's looking menacing, which is good. Usually, again, bright green usually means that hotter and stronger winds. But as of now, nothing there. So again, in Carroll County there's going to be that heavy rainfall. A lot of lightning, but in terms of any severe weather, that's not expected. Otherwise, as Noah mentioned, the only other spot that we're going to be seeing maybe some stronger storms is now leading into Scott County. It's going to be maybe up to 50-mile-per-hour winds maybe some pea-sized hail, which is really small. No, if you check the velocity, I just want to see what the winds look like there. Okay, could see maybe some gustier winds out of that. Now, one thing to note with this is that since we're getting a little bit farther from the radar, it is going to be a little bit more elevated, meaning the winds that if we pick them out, any speeds, it's going to be lofted in the atmosphere. So the winds we get here are maybe not going to be at the surface. So if we were going to pull something here, yeah, 47. Okay, that might be accurate. But some of these winds, again, when the radar beam you're getting farther away, it's tilting up. So the farther away you get from the radar, which is in Fort Smith, the higher in the sky these winds are going to be pulled from. So really at the surface, maybe more 35 to 45, but higher up in the atmosphere, you're getting more maybe 50 to 55 miles per hour. So it's about 15 miles. So that's actually not too far away. So we're probably pretty decent estimates there towards Mansfield. So if you're in southern Sebastian County towards Scott County, maybe you could see 45 to 50 mile per hour winds. But that's really the only two areas we could see anything. And again, I'm not expecting any strengthening out of these, but some gusty winds and maybe some small hail at times out of this leading edge.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking at right now, where there's kind of a big gap between Fayetteville and Fort Smith, and that's some good news for anyone that's still out celebrating the 4th of July. And you can see the reflectivity. Instead of maybe dark reds, it's light oranges, some yellows, means the rainfall rates have come down. The intensity of the storm is starting to come down a little bit. We kind of showed you some wind gusts. Still could have some strong downburst wind gusts with this, on the order of 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts between, say, Greenwood to Mansfield to Heavener, out towards western Scott County as it starts to enter into Arkansas. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Again, Fort Smith kind of missing most of the showers and storms there. Again, no warnings to talk about, but that kind of this, you could probably make the argument that the stronger cell is actually the excuse me, the one in Carroll County right now, near Eureka Springs area. And there wasn't a ton of hail with that, but that's going to be until 12:15. Again, it's not a severe thunderstorm warning, but up to penny-sized hail, wind gusts of 40 miles an hour. That storm would really need to strengthen if it were to become severe, like its brothers in southwest Missouri there, about to cross Table Rock Lake. Looks like it's a flash flood warning that's happening in southwest Missouri as they've been dealing with some very heavy rain, not just with this round, but even a little bit earlier today as well. And that's what we're looking at right now. And we'll continue to kind of monitor that. In terms of elsewhere across the region, things have quieted down. There was actually, little pockets of severe weather near the D.C. area. Now we're just kind of getting a little crazy until we get any new information. But it looks like New York City, Manhattan, getting some rain up on towards Long Island, the Hamptons, Nantucket. Some heavy rain. By this time, it's after midnight there for the East Coast time. And then some storms across Appalachia. And then some stronger clusters of storms there in southern Oklahoma. That's actually where the severe thunderstorm watch continues. But keep in mind, it expired for all of our Oklahoma counties. It was actually until midnight for Delaware all the way to LaFleur County, just for our Oklahoma counties. And then it expired just because the severe threat pushed its way eastward, and we just don't really have too much of a severe threat, if any. And then there's that severe thunderstorm watch where those strongest thunderstorms were, and you can kind of see that there. If I'll jump back to radar, still a couple of those severe thunderstorm warnings, and if I loop it back, might be wondering, is that going to eventually work its way into our region? And the answer is no. That's just not. Those things continue to work their way southeastward. And they're going to miss us. They might clip far southern LaFleur County, at least that left cluster. But overall, that's what we're looking at. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to the Carroll County cell because that's probably where the strongest of it is. And we'll see how this guy behaves, see if it strengthens and comes up. Otherwise, if it doesn't strengthen a ton, or if it strengthens but it's outside of our coverage area, then we'll probably just leave radar on our weather impact stream, and then we'll let you guys chime in, chime out. But the severe weather threat really diminishing here this evening, and that's some good news. Actually, real quick, Danny, and I don't know how, I haven't checked this at all.
we have any power outages in any of our Oklahoma counties by chance?
I was going to say, I'll take a gander at that. In the meantime, Noah, if you want to if there's still people watching, just kind of give them an idea if you're maybe wondering what's going on for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe just show a quick future cast
Sure.
of what tomorrow looks. Because it looks like we could see maybe a few pop-ups during the afternoon, yet again, like we have the previous few days.
Right, right. Yes, so let's do that. Well, Danny's checking some power outages. So, look, one thing, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, this particular computer model, it kind of showed us a little bit earlier, the timing was just a little bit off. And so this is what it shows at 1 a.m. Look, I mean, just based off radar trends, at 1 a.m., which is in an hour and a half, the radar's not going to look like this. This cluster is going to be a little bit further eastward, and it's just not going to be as strong as what this futurecast is showing. So just take that with a grain of salt the next couple hours. Regardless, it weakens overnight tonight. Even by 3 a.m., I think we're pretty much done with everything. Not just thunderstorms, but even, moderate to heavy rainfall to begin with. Here's Sunday morning. Mostly dry across parts of the area. The one thing for tomorrow and Sunday that we're going to be potentially watching is just a couple more residual showers and storms, just with a little bit residual energy. The better chances for this would be across the River Valley and across parts of the Ouachita Mountains. And this is what I'm talking about. As we get to the late morning, 10, 11 in the morning, kind of a few of these sporadic showers and storms. So that's why our rain chances in the River Valley are just a little bit higher compared to, say, northwest Arkansas, where I think we stay mostly dry. So about a 30, maybe 40% chance of some isolated to very widely scattered thunder showers out there. And then that activity starts to fizzle out through the afternoon. Wouldn't be surprised if we start to see a bit more sunshine. Temperatures, though, are going to be just a bit cooler tomorrow. It's still going to be, relatively humid, but in terms of a look at high temperatures tomorrow, we're probably running into the 80s in northwest Arkansas. If we get some sunshine in the afternoon, we're near 90 in the River Valley. So maybe not middle 90s. I'm not sure what Fort Smith got to earlier today. I want to say 96, maybe 97 for the high temperature. I think, Drakefield and Fayetteville got to, I know it for sure got to 93. So it's definitely toasty, but I'm not sure if it got hotter than that. We're expecting a little bit cooler temperatures than that. So
I would say Fort Smith got to 96 for a high with a peak heat index
it was
110.
Wow. Yeah, it was up there.
It was hot. Don't get us wrong. And then in Fayetteville, that high was at 94 with a peak heat index there of 102. Just not quite as humid in northwest Arkansas as it was in the River Valley. One thing to note as well with the River Valley, these gusts have been going in. So the River Valley in Fort Smith, the latest observation had gusts around 35 to 40 miles per hour. So again, strong gusts, but not severe gusts. As I've been looking at these power outages, Noah, 317 customers out in LaFleur County, which is about 1.5% of customers in all of LaFleur County, and 308 in Sequoia, about 1.8. So not a ton, as you mentioned, just going to be very kind of hit or miss. Yeah. And then in Arkansas, there have been very little, which is some good news there as well. Benton County has 37, but that's out of 151,000 customers. And Sebastian County has 2. So, so all things considered, we got very lucky with this weakening and just giving us some rain and honestly, maybe just a few little lightning shows of its own. But as Noah mentioned, once kind of this line in Carroll County moves east, and once that line south to I-40 moves out of here, that severe threat is for sure done. But I'd really say I think our severe threat is probably done for the night. So if Noah has any other things to add, I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave the radar here. We'll hang out. If anything, for whatever reason, were to turn severe, we'll get back on. But we're going to leave the stream up. But once the line moves through, meaning that in Eureka Springs, out of the area, and that line south of I-40 moves out, when we're 100% sure we know it's done, we're going to turn off the stream. I would say you can probably go to bed, especially in the river, or especially northwest Arkansas and Benton and Washington County. Carroll County, again, probably seen some heavy rainfall. Maybe you can't go to bed because it's so loud. But I do think these storms, for the most part, is going to be some heavy rainers. And then even behind that, not a whole lot of lightning to work with there. So I'd say, for the most part, you can go to bed. If you want to stay up with us, you can. But I do think most, if not all, the area can probably go to bed.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. So we can probably... I don't really have any more updates to pass along. I mean, it's showed a pretty weakening trend. Maybe we might have to watch this little Carroll County cell in southern LaFleur County cluster. But overall, I think we're pretty much done And again, if anything were to pulse up, we'll get back on. And so yeah, we'll kind of end the live stream, but then we'll continue to have that radar pulled up. So yeah, we can go ahead and do that for whoever's in the booth, and they can cut our mics. And enjoy the rest of your night.